Thank you. I am excited because when I received a mail from Kerian about this event, I did not hesitate. I said yes, because it's an opportunity that I don't take for granted. First of all, as being an Irish scholar, it's an opportunity that I'm in Ireland, because if Irish Aid didn't extend its services to Africa, because I'm coming from Uganda and Africa in general, then I wouldn't be here. And ultimately, the women and the communities that I serve maybe wouldn't benefit from it. So I'm so excited, I'm so humbled, and I chose that poster to begin with. You know, education is the key to success. When you look at that, the girls are seated in front. It's specific. In other words, can the women be in front or by the side of men, not women sitting at the back? Because, as I'll share with you in my presentation, one of the key challenges is the completion and the rate of pupils in school. So if pupils can start and complete, maybe issues of gender equality would reduce. So I would briefly share with you the experience, how I was selected to be here, then the gender issues in Uganda, what is being done, and the way forward. Paula explained, it's not the first in Africa. It has been consistent that every year they do various activities, and the Irish Embassy in Uganda, when it receives information, then it shares it with different departments, different ministries, and I'm part of the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, where the information reached, and I was lucky to access the information. I had to fill the form online, depending on the selection criteria that was given, which I felt I would meet. Then after these forms are sent back to Ireland, and it's the Irish Aid which does the selection. Then after you are communicated that you have gone through, then you have to choose either to come to Ireland or in any other country, depending your option. And my first choice was the NYG, especially in the course that I was given, so it was my first choice. And when the university communicated, then the Irish Aid with ICOS had to go into the modalities. Then after those modalities, they had to take us through the experience sharing and what is here, the climate, everything. So they put us on board so as to begin the journey of the struggle. Then after, we were oriented right off from Uganda, and immediately when we reached here. Back home, I'm saying Uganda is a highly patriarchal society that excludes or unfavorably includes women in all spheres of life. So Uganda, like any other country, issues of men right off from culture at the forefront. And like I said, why I put that picture, if I go back in the culture norms, now the girls will be seated at the back. So you can imagine a girl at the back and the boy in front. Maybe the lessons, the experience, the attention is very different. So out of the way how we are socialized, women tend to lag behind, and this has an impact on the retention and completion rate in schools. Right from primary 1, the girls are many, but by P5, level 4, level 5, maybe 30%. So if we are to reach at an opportunity of the university, then it means it is negligible. And you know the associated challenges of girls dropping out of school, early marriage, child labor, environment, all those have to hit the vulnerable girl from all corners, including exploitation of work where they are. Definitely, if you can't complete, if you can't have a skill, how do you access the own property? You are cut off. And back in our culture, even girls don't inherit land from their parents or whichever anything, because they know you are going to the male side. At the man's side, you're not getting. At your parents, you're not getting. So you're like in between. I mean, you're left with nothing. So you can't control, you can't own, apart from accessing. So in case of issues, where do you go access to justice? The structures are there, but the gender norms, the roles, even that fear, because you don't have the capacity. How do you report to police? How do you report the you call them LC courts? Who are on the committees? They are men. Who are you talk about that the man has harassed you? So the issues of women's rights die right off from there. So you have to accept to be there. So then access and utilization of health services. Even if the service is there, do you have the time? The gender roles. You are pregnant, you are carrying a child, you are looking after everything. So even if you're sick, I will go tomorrow. I will go tomorrow. We have lost our lives. Women have died. Those issues make women fail access, coupled with long distances to health centers. The drug stockouts, even if you go there, the drugs are not there. Even some women report unfriendly health services. Who are there? The men. Why are you late? You go back. Bring this. I'm already embattled from home. I need a harsh environment. Then I'd rather stay at home. That's why, despite all the services, ladies still prefer to administer, attend to themselves at home during pregnancy and even at delivery. So we have lost children in the due course. It has even increased the HIV and AIDS prevalence among the children. Otherwise, the services are there, but those conditions in between deter women from using them. Dr. Neve talked about decision making. Who are you to make a decision without anything in your pocket? Which decision do you make when you don't have the money? You want to go for health services, you have to ask money from the man. You want to go and visit, maybe look after your parent, do you have the money? Check you. So decision making and participation, sometimes they all stem from how we are brought up and the education levels. So however much you're willing, but there's something pulling you back. Ultimately, you cannot control family financial resources. Where I come from right away in the west of Uganda, we are good at producing food crops and especially looking after animals. But you can't imagine the malnutrition rate is very high. What does it mean? After producing household stuff, the man will make a decision what to sell, when to sell, then what is left for the children. So you can't believe it. You are producing food, but your kids are malnourished. So if it is me who handles the food, the roles at home in cooking, but I even don't control what I'm supposed to cook, then my kids must be malnourished. Then for the issue of gender-based violence, I can't talk about it. We have lost more women. Actually, now the trend has reduced. Women now are conniving with their children, even to kill husbands, because she has been battered and battered and battered. So at the end is to make a self-defense. Assuming you have connived with your children to kill the husband, next time they will ask you, "Ma'am, what did we do?" Now it will be your turn. Or, so families are nowhere. There are so many, but I've highlighted those. What has been done? What are we doing? As a community development officer, my role is to do community mobilization and sensitization. About what? The issue of women, the issue of children and the vulnerable categories. That is what we are talking about. Access to education, access to all those services, equal treatment of men and women. That's what we do. Formation of livelihood groups for both men and women. Yeah, if you can't build their capacity to access some resource, how will they make decisions? So they have to have, you know, a means of survival. So as maybe to feed their children, those who can't, even those who have, then at least have an opportunity to earn a living so as to sustain their life. And then even compete, because in Uganda, to be a politician, you must have a lot of money. What will you use? You need transport, you need posters, you need to mobilize. So unless they have the money, then they can't do it. Affirmative action for women. This one has been done right away from all political circles. Women are accorded a third of any structure, at least a platform for them to compete. Even in going in higher educational institutions, they have like 1%, because the government acknowledges even when they go home, boys and girls do more of the gender roles and get night time to read, so there's an affirmative action. So it actually means to bring the vulnerable categories, and especially those from poor households. Then Paula talked about it. We are empowering communities to demand accountability from duty bearers. This is very key and pertinent, because if you don't know your rights, then you can't advocate for them. So they have to know what is due for them, what is missing, what is not going better, or what's not going well, so as to hold us accountable, because I'm part of them. As a community development office, what have you done for us? As a political leader, if you are coming for votes, what did you do? What was your manifesto? Where do you stand? Such that people, they keep on challenging us, and we also challenge them. We are doing this, where are you? And especially working with them. Formation of bylaws, promote here. Uganda is among the countries that has ratified several conventions, and in order to domesticate them, then you have to make bylaws, because like the CEDAW, all those. So when you go to the community and you say CEDAW, what is CEDAW? So we facilitate them to come with bylaws. Once they participate in making these bylaws, they own them, then enforcing them becomes, part of their role and work, but slowly by slowly, I know we shall be there. Then recruitment of social workers up to the grassroots. In Uganda, this one has been ably done. Community or social workers are there in order to champion their cause, in order to advocate for them, in order to link them to other service providers. Because if women have formed groups and now they have, entrepreneurship skills, then a lot of the social worker is, no, there is a microfinance. SACCO, you can go there and access. There is an NGO that is giving you this, so you can go, making a link which goes to private-public partnership. Government doesn't have a lot. So unless we partner with others, we can't achieve it. All I saying this, Irish aid is part of Uganda's life. It's part and parcel of Uganda's blood, because it is making us survive, apart from making me here in terms of upkeep, financial support. They do several activities, but I highlighted this: addressing chronic poverty and vulnerability, especially, as she said, in emergency areas where like in Uganda, Karamoja in the north, where war has been there for more than 20 years. So they are trying to work with people, they are trying to establish livelihoods. They are trying to make sure people appreciate and start with whatever resources they have, so as to reduce vulnerability. Otherwise, how do you talk about a person's rights when he's poor or she's vulnerable? So Irish Aid is doing a lot here. Then support education, they give bursaries, they create environment for teachers and parents to associate. They are trying to put in competition in some schools. They have built some schools in the north. So they are really trying to help us, once we are educated, I think, then it will lead us somewhere. Then HIV, she said, there is a prevention program of HIV and AIDS. People have accessed antiretroviral drugs. People have been cancelled. People, have been, trying to make sure they live positively and make their ends meet. And what excites me is the attention to governance, especially in justice law and other sector. That is where our women suffer from. Access to justice is one of the key issues that affect our women. So they are trying to ensure effectiveness and efficiency among the judicial officers. They are trying to build their capacity. They are trying also to make sure that even in recruitment, like Uganda, we have had a problem. The officers in the judiciary have been so very few because they had to maintain because of brain drain. They go in UN, they go in everywhere. So they are there to build their capacity and make sure that we do better there. For gender-based violence, yeah, it has patterned with other organizations like TROGRA or World Vision. All those, at the end, we cannot achieve, a stable state unless both men and women are okay. I would think on part of what we are doing and the other donors or our colleagues or development partners, there is need for the donor community to directly support the local governments. Paula said it, I know. Most of the donors shifted the working relations to non-governmental organizations who might be called civil society organizations. Yeah, it is perfect. But the local governments are mandated to plan. So if you leave the planners on the side or in the margins and work with another maybe cadre of people, how shall we integrate it? For example, Irish Aid, you have built my capacity. Now, if I go back and maybe I get some hiccups here and there is no, support for me to do well, then the NGOs, they have the money. Sometimes they don't have the skill, so that is where we lose it all. So despite supporting civil society organization, there is directly a need, as Dr. Neve has said, the gender is always unfunded in the local governments. Politicians prefer structure things. When somebody says, oh, this is a spacious building, yeah. But if you put on roads, if you construct health centers, if you construct schools and girls and boys don't attend, your money will have been put to waste because of a mere gender issue. So I think there is a need for the donors to think about that and then support us. Need for political commitment from top management for gender mainstreaming. We shall not achieve this unless gender is mainstreamed everywhere. You, as a gender officer, you may be critical, you may be interested, you may be skilled, but once the top management is not compliant, then gender will be shelved. We have very good policies. We have the national gender policy. All those documents, all those conventions, we have ratified them. But what stops us from being better? Shelving, we are looking for roads, we are looking for bridges, we are looking for dams, we have oil, but once the gender issues are there, then all that will be put to waste. Need to build the capacity of local government staff to understand the gender dynamics and appreciate the importance of allocating, I said, reasonable funds. I always make my professors laugh. When we go in the budget desks, when we are trying to allocate funds, roads, water, those who have been on the gender, who try to budget, then I get like 2%, that is just a mere allocation. But even the actual implementation may be 0 or 1. So they ask me, Faith, we are building roads. Do you want special roads for women? Then that person who doesn't know that gender is part of what he's doing, he will construct schools and the performance will still be poor. So we need to build the capacity of our staff to understand the gender dynamics. Gender is not me. Gender is not about men and women, but understanding more deeper about how relations affect men and women and how that affects their performance, it affects their opportunities, it affects their entitlements. And I said, there is a need to support education. That's why I used the picture of boys and girls, and I gave a quote: education must serve as a vehicle for transforming attitudes, beliefs, and the entrenched social norms that perpetuate discrimination and inequality. I believe education is the key to all. Once people are aware of what they should do, once women and men are brought on board, once more women are educated, they will be able to compete for jobs, they will be able to earn a living, and a mother, the word I get out from my mouth directly goes to my child, because we stay a lot of time with our children. I wanted to end with this. How relevant is this course? Irish Aid, the support you have given to me and Garnet and others is not a waste. Gender rights and globalization has deepened my understanding and skills to analyze and interpret situations using a gender lens. Whenever I see people walking, whenever I watch a movie, strictly I don't watch it for the sake. I'm just trying to look at the gender issues. That is, and it will help me to identify an issue there and then. I'm able to identify, I'm able to design a gender-sensitive program and a project, meaning that I will be conscious of men and women's needs and the impact of the program, or how the program affects men and women differently, and how to design appropriate strategies. I'm confident I can make a gender audit, so that I make people account. You promised this 5% Irish Aid. If I'm to come and visit you now, you can tell me how much has gone to gender, and then we discuss. And lastly, I think I'm better placed to influence and advocate for the vulnerable categories. Hope never runs dry. Thank you.